Recognizing when boundaries are needed. Boundaries sound limiting, but they can actually be liberating. They let the world know where your space ends and their space begins. Healthy borders strengthen any relationship, professional or personal. You can also identify which relationships are damaged past the point of return and which you can repair and make strong again. The key to the most rewarding relationships is identifying when to create virtual, emotional, and sometimes physical limits. Here are a few ways to recognize that borders are necessary for you to enjoy a happy and fulfilling life. You frequently lose your temper. Do you go through most days upset, angry, and ticked off? Even though you might blame others for this reality you constantly experience, it could be your fault. You may not have established clearly defined behavior boundaries for yourself and others. If you are constantly losing your temper, write down a list of your values and your strongest beliefs. Then, outline specific rules of behavior that relate to those important values. Communicate these borders to the people in your life. Doing so can lead to more positive and less negative personal and professional interactions. You blame others for the way you feel. You're the only person responsible for your behavior. Happiness and other positive emotions are a gift you can give yourself at any time. They don't exist outside of you, something you have to obtain. That means you should stop blaming others for your emotional responses to the world. You might be giving people too much access to your life. Perhaps you haven't set healthy limits for your behaviors and activities. In both of these examples, it's easy to blame others when life doesn't seem to go your way. You feel powerless. Here is another situation when you might give others too much control over your life. That leads to a sense that you are powerless to live the life you dream of. Sometimes, this is proof that you need to construct clearly defined borders and rules of behavior for the people you interact with regularly. Those are 3 examples of having your life negatively impacted by a lack of healthy boundaries. Remember, you shouldn't view boundaries as limiting. They give you more control of your life. You prioritize yourself, and that leads to more fulfillment in your relationships. How to address overstepped boundaries. People are marvelously imperfect, all of us. We make mistakes from time to time. Many times when someone steps on our toes emotionally, it isn't intentional. Sometimes it is. In either case, here are a few tips for addressing situations where you feel like relationship boundaries were not honored. Don't let your emotions boil over. Don't respond immediately. Give yourself some time to process difficult emotions. You may have seen this happen before. You can't believe someone harmed you in some way. Your emotions are running high and hot. You say something that you regret later and wish you would have stepped away from the situation before you acted. Let the offending party know you are upset. Then communicate that you respect the relationship enough not to make it worse by talking about what happened before you can control your emotions. Communicate your boundaries again and be specific. Talk about what happened. Don't be vague. Don't tell someone, "I just need a little space." That isn't clearly detailed. Your needs won't be met because you didn't expressly specify them. Instead, say something like this: "I am still processing what happened. I need some time to think about things. Let's set aside some time tomorrow to meet and talk this out. If I can have some alone time until then, I think that would be better for both of us." You are being very clear about what you need right now. You let the other person know what you expect of them and what time frame you need before you discuss what happened. Then, when the 2 of you sit down, clearly communicate what boundaries you feel they overstepped and how that made you feel. Communicate clear consequences. You are hurt. Someone betrayed you in some way. You surely don't want this to happen again. Maybe you assume that it was a mistake and was a one-time deal. You tell the offending party it's not a big issue and move forward with the relationship. That's very nice of you, but all this is doing is making it likely that something similar might happen in the future. That's because you didn't communicate that there would be clear consequences if there is a repeat performance of an overstepped boundary. Respect yourself and the other person enough to tell them what you are prepared to do if your boundaries aren't honored. Boundaries are all about respect. Both parties need to respect themselves as individuals, as well as any other people in a relationship. That doesn't happen without clearly defined boundaries. With those boundaries established, you can do a few things to help get the relationship back on track, even if the boundaries are broken. How to communicate your boundaries without fear. Fear, uncertainty, doubt, and anger are feelings you may experience when setting boundaries in your relationships. Understanding this going in can help you deal with them. Those and other negative emotions sometimes tell you that something should be avoided because it somehow threatens you. Don't let them keep you from doing what you need to do when they pop up as a part of the boundary-building process. That's easier said than done sometimes. Not doing just about anything is usually much easier than doing it. You start to rationalize your fear as a sign that your actions will create a negative outcome. Just the opposite is the case. You are putting things in place to improve your life in some way. If the mere thought of communicating your boundaries with others makes you nervous, here are a few tips that can help. They give you the courage to push through and do what's necessary to create a better experience for everyone. Remember that time is fleeting. There will never be a better time to do anything than right now. Waiting until tomorrow is rarely the smartest idea when you have to do something that might be difficult. Please do it now and get it over with. Will it be tough? Maybe. Are you going to hurt someone's feelings? Perhaps. But what happens if you put it off until another day? The person you are going to talk to might know this is an issue, and they've been feeling bad about constantly overstepping their boundaries with you. Equally, they may be totally ignorant of what they are doing. Whatever the case, the time clock of life is always ticking. Do you want to spend your time fostering negative emotions like fear, doubt, and uncertainty, or enjoying the benefits of establishing healthy boundaries in your relationships? The people who count will be happy for you. Communicating expectations of behavior is going to allow your healthy relationships to thrive. You'll also find that some people will leave your life. This removes negative experiences from your reality. The people who care about you will be happy that you care enough about yourself to let them know what you expect from them. Remember that fear is a choice. You can choose how to decide about anything. Remind yourself you are acting in a way that supports your values. This is something you need to do for yourself. Your self-esteem and self-confidence will grow. Decide to choose some positive emotion rather than fear because you always have a choice to feel any way you want. You are going to be so much stronger. If you sit down with someone and have a tough conversation, maybe they leave your life. Perhaps they will respect you and create more positive experiences. Either way, you are going to grow stronger. This is an incredible stress reliever, meaning your well-being will improve in both mind and body. The benefits of getting through this difficult process are virtually limitless, leading to a much better life for you. These are 4 proven ways to help you communicate relationship boundaries when encountering negative emotions. It's natural to fear hurting someone's feelings when you have to have these kinds of conversations. That proves you are a caring person. Just remember that you should care for yourself first. That means establishing healthy relationship boundaries, even if it might be difficult. The connection between personal well-being and relationship boundaries. Chronic stress is a killer, but you can keep it at bay with healthy relationship boundaries. Maintain strong, healthy, symbiotic connections with others, and stress isn't as damaging as it can be. If you need proof, think about the people you love being around. Why do you enjoy spending time with them so much? It's the fact that they trigger positive emotions and they help relieve stress. This is why we all want to spend so much time with our best friends and loved ones. They accept us for who we are. You smile and laugh when you are around these people. You love them, they love you, and there is a mutual experience of peace, tranquility, happiness, and fulfillment. This improves your well-being from head to toe. What's not present is stress. The best relationships lower stress and improve overall well-being. Perform a Google search for the leading causes of death and how they relate to stress. What you find may surprise you. Stress is directly related to several conditions that can put you 6 feet under. Heart disease is responsible for 1 in every 6 deaths around the world. It's far and away the biggest killer of humans. What's one great way to end up with heart disease? Get a lot of stress in your life. Chronic stress, whether it is mental or physical in nature, raises your blood pressure. When this happens frequently, you can wind up with high blood pressure, another very effective killer. Stress is fast friends with diabetes and depression, anxiety disorders, accidents, liver cirrhosis, and suicide. How can you experience less stress? Improve your relationships. How is that possible? You create and enforce healthy boundaries. Relationship boundaries help you live a longer and more fulfilling life. The people in your life can influence excellent health and well-being or poor health in mind and body. They either create stress or relieve it, and you can decide which of those two outcomes you experience. It's up to you to let them know what you will and won't allow them to do. This begins an automatic weeding out process. The relationships that aren't too good for you will start to disappear. Relationships that are positive influences will grow stronger. Your mental and physical well-being will improve as stress is removed from your life because you respect yourself enough to develop boundaries in your relationships. The role of self-respect in establishing boundaries. Boundaries and self-respect feed off of each other. They create an endless cycle that requires self-esteem to establish boundaries. Then your boundaries create higher levels of self-esteem, self-respect, and a healthier self-image. Think of it like this. There is someone in your life that causes you a lot of stress. You know you need to sit down and talk to them. Mostly they add a lot of value to your life. You don't want to think about a world without them, but there are one or two ways that they really step on your toes, for lack of a better term. You decide to say something finally. Then you start to imagine how everything can go terribly wrong. Are you really being overly sensitive? Will you end up looking like a bad guy? Most of your time with this person is positive, so what's the big deal? You decide to put it off for another day. If this happens, you could be operating from a belief that you aren't good enough to expect to be treated properly. Your self-esteem is not high enough. Your image of who you are and what you deserve is not rich enough that you feel comfortable setting boundaries that can help you improve your life experience. You are worthy and deserving of everything good. If you ever believe for whatever reason that you aren't good enough in any way, realize that is a limiting belief. It is holding you back from having the most amazing life you've dreamed of and know you deserve. You are absolutely worthy of any healthy experience you desire. The people in your life can help make that a reality, but not if you don't love yourself enough to share important boundaries with them. Boundaries skyrocket your self-esteem. When you set even the smallest of boundaries, you are respecting yourself. You recognize that you deserve to enjoy positive experiences rather than having people unconsciously or intentionally bring you down. You begin to look at yourself as someone powerful. It's like strapping your self-esteem and self-respect to a rocket and shooting them into the sky. You begin to realize that you are worthy of loving yourself and creating any experience you want. Don't be surprised if this process has you looking at every aspect of your life in a wonderful new way. You'll notice fewer negatives. Your typical day will have more positive moments in it. The simplest things will reveal beauty, positivity, and great outcomes. This is the power of setting healthy boundaries in your relationships. Your entire life truly can change for the better when you establish and enforce rules of behavior for yourself and others to follow.